Hey guys, it's Damien.
And I'm Kenady.
And thank you so much for joining us. Now today we're going to be talking about breaking the cycles in our lives. Now most of you know that we have written a book, and so many times people think that and look at us and say, look at them. They just always been perfect. And it hasn't been that way for our lives. We had to learn how to break the cycles in our lives first to get to this point and to have a healthy relationship, to be healthy for each other. And so today, that's what we're going to talk about for you, is breaking those cycles and what we had to do and what cycles we had to break so we can find each other.
And there's a saying that I like to say, which is get the sin out of singleness. Now, I'm not saying when you get in a relationship, you're going to be sinless and you're just perfect and you've achieved this level of morality and purity that you now have the reward of getting a relationship. No, what I simply mean is when you notice every time that you're in a relationship that you're sinning, like I was, whether it be, immorality, sexual immorality, or jealousy, bitterness, trust issues, whatever it is, you're like, man, why do I always deal with the same cycles? But when you're single, it's the time to really get rid of that lust, give your heart to God, do any healing that's broken inside of you that God can touch and heal and reveal. And so that way, when you get in a relationship, you're not struggling with lust, you're not struggling with anger, bitterness, and lashing out on your significant other. But it really is, man, maybe I can take this single time and to give my life to Christ. And so that way when I meet somebody, I can be in a healthy relationship and do it God's way. Because if you're struggling with lust, a partner is not going to help you get out of lust. And so really trying to just give yourself to the Lord and allow Him to reveal those areas that we need to seek healing and deliverance from.
So for me, I want to just dive right in, Kenady. For me, the cycle that I needed to break is pornography. And what Kenady was talking about is that lust. See, pornography for me was something that held me back. When I was in pornography and in situationships or relationships, it caused me to have ungodly conversations on the phone, right? As a man, I would say, yeah, what are you wearing? And have these movies playing in my mind. And what I say with pornography is that pornography is like a gateway drug. It opens your life to different sins. You start lying more. You start manipulating, cheating, stealing. You start doing certain things just to feed the flesh. And what I had to do is get honest. I had to get honest and say, look, I have a problem. I had to admit that something was wrong on the inside of me. And when I did that, I started bringing brothers in my life accountability to actually show me how to get over these particular sins. So that's for me, that's one of the areas that I had to break, which prayerfully I did. And sometimes people get into their relationships and even marriage, and they're still struggling with that. And so I thank Jesus Christ for delivering me of that cycle before Kenady.
That's so good. For me, man, so many cycles I had to break. Let's see which one I want to share. But for me, one major thing, and I think it started with like one of my first relationships, that I allowed people to just come in and out of my life, to be in a relationship and then break up with me and then come back in my life and then break up. And it was a cycle that I constantly would break up with people. And sometimes it was me doing it and sometimes it was them. But it was just like a commitment issue type of thing. Just allowing people just in and out of my life without having standards. Like, no, I'm not about to be a rebound, or no, I'm not going to use you as a rebound. But just knowing my worth. And so that's something I didn't know, and just allowing people to just come in and out of my life when they wanted to or when I was convenient. So.
Okay. The second one for me, Kenady, was clinginess. I was so clingy, and we talked about this in one of our last videos about not giving the other person space. And for me, I idolized relationships. I wanted to spend so much time with the person, and one of the things I talked about is spending time on the phone. Like, it was dumb, y'all. Like, for real. I was on the phone and just wasting a lot of my life and time because of one area and this happens when you're clingy. It's because of insecurity. You're insecure in some area and you don't feel that worth. Maybe it's the hygiene area that you're insecure in. Maybe it's your finances that you're insecure. Maybe it's a past breakup that causes that insecurity and causes that clinginess. And we think that we need to be so close to that person that if we're so close, they won't leave. But actually, when they're so close, they'll slip out of your fingers. And so really think about that. If that's you, again, confess it. Bring brothers and sisters around you and that accountability, that community to help you break that cycle.
Yeah, that's good. I think that rejection piece goes into that. And I think with my last one as well, too, just the fear of rejection, that insecurity. And so like, you hold on so they don't leave. Yeah. That's something that a lot of people have to break, is that rejection thing. Another cycle I had to break was sexual morality. It wasn't always just, sex, but other things that, like you shouldn't be doing it because this can lead to that. Yeah. But even in like, godlier relationships, just always falling or, going past the base that we said we weren't going to do. And so I had to, again, before him, I had to get the sin out of my life and truly give it to God. I had to realize that my body was a temple, and so I didn't want to cheapen the temple that God's Spirit was in. And also I wanted to have a gift for my husband. Yeah. And so really... a gift. So a gift. Treasure. No, but just, valuing myself, because the Bible says it's God's will for us to be holy, because no other sin so affects the body or inside the body than sexual sin is. So we have to make sure that we are living in purity and saving ourselves not only for marriage but for God. So
that's so good. One of the last cycles, and it was not a last cycle, but one of the last cycles that we're going to talk about today. But before I get into that, I have to give credit to my father here, because I sat down with him or stood up. We was in the kitchen. I remember that. We was in the kitchen. And my father was like, Damien, you have to find a cycle. You have to find a cycle in your life before you want to level up, go to the next level. You have to find that cycle and stop that cycle. And I looked back and I saw a cycle that I'm going to mention about being very shallow. And I was being clingy to people who were just on the outside, just very gorgeous people. And I mentioned this in videos or books or whatever, that I had a list that I wanted to marry an exotic woman, right? I wanted to marry somebody from overseas, maybe a Spanish person, maybe Palestine, whatever, just somebody
kind of exotic.
Yeah, some kind of exotic.
Where you from, girl?
Just an exotic person, and that is the shallow kind of thing. And again, Mike Todd made that sermon a couple months ago. It's like, rip up your list, right? And so with that, I had to give my list to God. And I just encourage you to give your list to God and just look at your list and see how shallow it can be. And it was so shallow, and it did not have really any kind of real strong spiritual base to that list. And that's one of the things I had to break, and not just look on the outside appearance of a woman, but really seek God for compatibility on the inside. And me and Kenady, and we talk about this in the book, but I had a devotional that I had, and I shared it with Kenady. And this was like one of the first times a person would speak back to me in a new revelation, because I used to just give the revelation. I was giving it. I was just waiting for somebody to, pump me up and say, man, that was good. But she was like, no, I see this and this and this. And I was like, what? Like, you know the Bible?
She the one.
And I knew right there, like, Kenady was my future. And I really wanted to, get to know her a little bit more. So, just shallowness, man. I was so shallow.
Yeah, I think a lot of us can be. I know I was too, and that could block our blessing when God is trying to gift us. I'm like, no, they don't. They're not this height, or they don't look this way, or whatever. So, My last one, it's not the last one. It's the last one we're going to talk about today. I think it would be needing attention. Oh. And so even when I wasn't or wasn't in a relationship, or I wasn't, quote unquote, a girlfriend to somebody, I still wanted guys to talk to me, hit me up, take me out on dates. I know I talked about I like to eat, so I was like, you trying to take me out? Cool. But I just, randoms. Just random, knowing good and well this was no one I wanted to talk to or needed to talk to. It was like, hey, give me something, make me feel valuable, worthy, attention. And sometimes I just want attention just to, give them the curve. It was so broken, but I'm just needing that attention and that validation and that worth to know that someone wants me or is attracted to me, even if it was, shallow relationship and nothing like that can go anywhere. So yeah, I had to. And before you, I know I mentioned in the book where I didn't want to give my number to anyone else unless it was someone that I wanted to get to know more, because I had to be okay with a dry phone.
Yeah,
because
so
before
good.
It was so many just text, hey girl, what you doing, or hey big head, or just like again, hey beautiful,
yeah.
Just those random
and I
texts.
ain't do all that.
And so I had to be okay with a dry phone. I had to be okay with no one, feeding that need that I that void that I had, that I just needed attention or someone to say like, hey, I'm thinking about you. And in that moment, I was able to heal because I wasn't distracted by nonsense and randoms and stuff. So I had to break that cycle. Mm-hmm.
That is so good. Yeah. So once we recognize our pattern, we had to make a decision to break them, because if we're not breaking these cycles right now, it's not just hurting us, it's hurting our future spouses. And so one of the things we really want you guys to get is to admit that you're in a cycle. And once you admit that you are in a cycle, ask God to bring people into your life to help you break it.
That's so good. And then once you have that cycle broken, you have to have a vision of what you want your new journey to be. And so we had a vision that we wanted a godly marriage. I wanted, to have a godly family. I wanted to honor God in my relationship and have a godly marriage. And so I had to change the way I was doing things. Mm-hmm. And so when you break it, it's not just enough to be, break it and be idle. No, you have to put effort into somewhere else. And that's when you go on the journey to the alternative beyond. Hashtag completely, what is it, married? Hashtag completely married plug. But just having a journey to achieve the vision God has for you. And so, yeah, breaking cycles, but it doesn't just end there. You have to go somewhere else. You can't be idle.
That's so good. Thank you so much for joining us today in this video of breaking cycles. We pray that you are and you will break those cycles in your life. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Instagram at Damien and Kenady. That's Damien and Kenady spelled out. And also visit our website. We do have a free book there for you. If you go down to the bottom of the page and fill out that information, we will send you a book. Again, my name is Damien Nash.
And I'm Kenady Nash.
And we will see you next time. Bye.